A lot of hypnotists still believe that hypnosis is a special or altered state, something fundamentally different from everyday consciousness. And one of the most common arguments I hear goes something like this. Well, how do you explain someone forgetting their name or being able to go through surgery without anesthesia? Or even those wild claims of mind control, like what George Estabrooks supposedly did with the MK Ultra experiments. That must be a hypnotic state, right? Well, not necessarily. In this video, I'm going to break down some of those claims and explain how all of them can be understood without needing to invoke any kind of special or altered state of consciousness. The non-state view says hypnosis isn't a state at all. It's a set of behaviours, beliefs and expectations that emerge in a specific social and in linguistic context. Think of it like this. Hypnosis is something we do, not something we go into. It's a communication process that shapes perception and experience, but it does not require trance or dissociation from reality or entering into an altered state. So let's start with amnesia and pain control. People forget things under hypnosis, but people also forget things when they're nervous, embarrassed, or under pressure. The brain naturally suppresses memories. It's not magic. When someone accepts the suggestion that they can't remember their name, they're not losing access to it permanently. They're temporarily suspending the search process, like kind of putting a sticky note over that part of the brain that says, don't open this file right now. Same with pain control. Countless studies on placebo show that belief and expectation can physically change how the brain processes pain. Hypnosis doesn't need to create an altered state to do that. It just needs to create the right expectation and focus. Now, what about the classic, well, they made him cluck like a chicken scenario? Or more seriously, cases where someone seems to do something they didn't want to do. Again, the non-state view sees this as a performance shaped by context. People interpret their own actions differently when they're in a role. Think of stage hypnosis. It's not people losing control, it's people playing out a role that gives them permission to act freely. In fact, this is backed by lots of social psychology research. Look at the Milgram experiment. People were willing to deliver what they thought were fatal electric shocks, not because they were hypnotized, but because of authority, framing, and context. Same with hypnosis. Now let's look at the infamous George Estabrooks and the MK Ultra myth. Estabrooks claimed he could use hypnosis to create secret agents who wouldn't even know they were spies, the sort of classic Manchurian candidate stuff. But here's the truth. Estabrooks was speculating. He was writing during the time of wartime propaganda and fear, and his claims were never replicated scientifically. Most MK Ultra files revealed failed experiments using drugs, torture and coercion, not successful mind control through hypnosis. But here's the thing. He never documented his methods or offered scientific expectations. No reliable experiments were ever done. His accounts were often shifted in different interviews, sounding more like fictional storytelling than clinical facts. In fact, even CIA records from the MK Ultra program shows that most of their hypnosis and mind control experiments were unreliable, unethical, and ultimately abandoned. They focused more on LSD and sensory deprivation and sleep deprivation, and hypnosis was just a minor curiosity. As CIA historian John Marks wrote in the book The Search for the Manchurian Candidate, MK Ultra failed to create usable mind control techniques, and hypnosis was ultimately seen as ineffective for covert operations. So why do people still believe it? Because hypnosis is mysterious, and mystery sells. But even Estabrooks admitted his ideas were more theoretical than practical. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, and this part is often overlooked. It is possible to install something like a dissociated part in someone through suggestion, but that doesn't require a special hypnotic state either. It requires repeated framing, emotional intensity, and a compliant subject. In fact, Richard Offshay, in the book Making Monsters, argued that some therapists in the 80s and 90s actually installed multiple personalities in vulnerable patients through suggestion, completely outside of formal hypnosis. They didn't need trance. They just needed repetition, authority, and a belief system that made the creation of alters seem real. In other words, hypnosis doesn't prove a state. It proves the power of belief and context. So here's the bottom line. Hypnosis is not a state. It's a set of interactions. It's about language, expectation, and the human ability to focus attention and to accept suggestion. The effects are real: amnesia, analgesia, behavioral changes. But the explanation doesn't need to be mystical. The non-state model gives us a simpler, cleaner, and more scientific way to understand what's going on. Now, if you find this helpful, make sure you subscribe and like, and especially if you're a hypnotist and you want to break free of outdated ideas and see hypnosis for what it really is: a learnable, powerful communication skill. Thanks for watching.